Hey everyone, and welcome to your C++ tutorial on constructors. Even though we haven't seen how to code a constructor yet, we've actually been using them. We used them in the last tutorial. This actually is a constructor. And so I'm going to get rid of our encapsulation definition here, and I'm just going to create a definition for a constructor. So a constructor is a special method that initializes objects. So this method, even though we don't have one declared in our car class up here, this method is generated by the compiler. And C++, if you don't create a method, a constructor for your class in C++, C++ will create a constructor for you. It's going to be a default constructor that takes no parameters, and it doesn't change your data at all. It doesn't set your data, doesn't initialize your data. It does nothing effectively to the data in your class, but it is there just to give you a new object. So let's try to create our own constructor now. And you see in the definition, we say it's a special method. It's a special method because of how it's called, but also how it's declared. So you declare a constructor like this. You use the name of the class. There's no return type. Like in our normal method, we have a return type, and then our name, and then our parameters here. In a constructor, you just use the name of the class, and you can take in parameters. There's no return type. And then you start the scope for your constructor here. So this is effectively the constructor that C++ generates for us. It doesn't really do anything, but it serves to new up our car class. I'd like to take this a step further, right? So if we run this code now, if we compile this code, it compiles fine, and it does the exact same thing that our constructor did before, which is gives us nothing. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take this constructor a step further, and let's give it a parameter, and it'll be an integer. And we'll call this underscore miles. So this underscore is going to be our input, and we're going to use it to set our miles private member variable, right? So we can't access miles outside of our class. However, this constructor is inside of our class, so it can access our miles member variable, and we're going to set our miles member variable equal to the input of miles. So now we look down here, this constructor doesn't take any parameters. What do you think is going to happen when we compile our program here? We get an error, right? We get an error because there's no matching constructor. So what that means is that when you create a constructor, you no longer get the generated constructor from C++. C++ will not generate you a constructor if you create your own. So if we took this away, if we deleted our new constructor, this constructor would go back to working, right? Because we wouldn't have one, C++ would give us one for free. Now that we've created one, we can no longer use the default C++ constructor. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pass in a 50 here. And what this 50 is going to do is it's going to be our input. So we're going to set miles equal to 50 through our constructor here. We're then going to use our print miles method to print out the number of miles here. So I'm going to clear our terminal here, and we are going to use our G++ compiler. That worked. Print out, and there you can see miles is 50. So that is how you create a constructor in C++. Remember, you generally get a constructor for free, but doesn't really do anything. And a good way to initialize your variables is through the constructor. And you can later do that through a setter method as well, which we're going to learn in the next tutorial. But for now, we want to keep our member variables private. And in order to set those member variables, we can set them through a constructor. Thanks.